Next, we'll look at a couple of slightly more complex scripts. One involving grouping on two columns instead of one that we did in the last few slides, and another where grouping column is in one and the column to be summarized is in another table. Okay, let's suppose we want to find average wholesale and retail prices by product type and by product group. So that's the two grouping columns. Okay, so that's shown on the top of the current slide. Let's switch to the notepad, and I believe this is number 15 of our scripts, getting closer to the end. And then using the slide, let's add the prod group. Okay, prod type. Those are the two grouping columns, and remember they have to both show up in the group by clause at the bottom. Okay, then rounding AVG of wholesale price, okay, with two decimals, and calling that what do I call it, AVG wholesale, okay, comma, round AVG retail price, okay, again with two decimals as AVG retail. So those are the two new names for these guys. From the product table, okay, now we want to omit the prod groups that are null. So we are going to only take where product group is not null, and then group by. Now remember, we got to include both prod group comma prod type in this particular order, right? So this is equivalent in Excel of dragging prod group and then prod type onto the row labels of the pivot table, and then dragging the wholesale price and retail price onto the values and changing the summary to average. That's sort of the same thing. So we'll save the changes here, close it, move to Toad, open and run number 15. Okay, and then you will get the 15 combinations. Okay, so for each product group there is at least one or two, sometimes three, depending on how many product types do we have. We have the inventory item for sure. We have special orders. We have I think those are kit items as well, right? So it depends. So for baseball gear group, for example, there's two product types. Okay, the inventory items, which is the majority of them, with the average wholesale price of $102, an average retail price of $127, and then for the same product group, baseball gear, we have the special order product type that doesn't have an average wholesale price because there aren't any in that product group for that product type, but the average retail is $35. And then we have the basketball gear has only inventory item product type, none of the others. I don't know. Let's find one of those kits at the bottom. Snow sports gear, good example right here. All three of the product types: inventory item, kit item, and special order. Most of them have average wholesale retail prices except the special order don't. Okay, so that gives you pretty extensive summary. Okay, the first two columns again, product group and product type, are the categorical variables or categorical columns, right? So those are those columns you would drag on a pivot table in Excel on a row labels. Okay, the numerical columns, the wholesale and retail price, would be dragged on the values, right? And then the summary would change to average, and these results would then emerge. Okay, so let us close this and switch back to presentation to discuss the second script in the second part of the slide. Okay, our next task is to summarize the quantity of products sold by product group, and to do that we need both order detail and product tables because the quantities are in an order detail table and the product group is in a product table. Okay, so we'll open the blank, mostly blank. I believe we got to number 16 at this point. All right. Yep. MySQL 3 underscore 16 underscore group underscore by underscore join underscore prod underscore orders. Okay, and that's totally blank except for the comment. And let's type the following code. Select prod group. Okay, so there's one grouping column. The rest of the columns need to be summaries. Count, okay, of everything. All right, as ORD detail count. So that's number of not orders but order details. Okay, which means line items, comma, sum. That's the total of quantity as I total QTY. Okay, from, and now we're going to use the product version of the join, product times order detail, or if you want a tongue twister, product order detail, where product ID in the product table as a primary key matches order detail and the product ID as a foreign key. All right, and typically indent with 1, 2, 3 spaces, and prod type, okay, is inventory item. Oops, we got single quotes, not double. In this case, inventory item, just to restrict further, and then group by a single group column product group. Okay, save. Again, this is equivalent to a pivot table where you drag the product group on the row labels, and then you drag anything really from the order detail table onto the values, and then switch the summary to count, and then you have to drag obviously the quantity column onto the values and change that to sum. The problem, of course, is that you have to develop the product times order detail data set first. Okay, here you don't have to. They are in separate tables, but they are connected, and everything will work out just fine. So let's save it. I did that, close it, toad it. Let's toad this number 16. Okay, and review the results. We end up with 10 rows for groups, as we by now know there are 10 groups. Okay, for example, baseball gear has a total number of line items for baseball gear type products was 171. Okay, the total quantity of all different types of baseball gear ordered on those 171 line items was 740 units. Similar, same interpretation for the rest of the product groups. Okay, let's close this and switch back to the presentation and pause.